Hello, everyone. I wanted to say good morning, but it's not morning anymore. 12 o'clock, German lunchtime. So
It's good afternoon.
it's good after.
Exactly 1 minute.
Yeah, it's exactly afternoon. So thank you all for joining. We will wait another 2 minutes until we start the content of the webinar. Although we have only 30 minutes, we know, especially with Teams, it sometimes takes a minute until everybody is able to join. So maybe until that, already some administration comments. I encourage you to ask questions. Pascal and I already discussed what we will present to you today, but obviously, if you have any direct questions on what we're saying or questions on the topic that you would like to ask us, please share them with us in the question and answer section. This makes it a bit easier for me uh, to administer the questions and see which ones we already answered or not. So that's that. We will have a recording of the webinar. So in case anything is unclear, you want to rewatch it, you want to share it with anyone, you will be able to do that in afterwards. So latest tomorrow, I guess, we'll have the follow-up of the webinar. Yeah, maybe Pascal, should I shortly introduce you? That would be interesting, right? I don't know if everybody knows you.
You can, but I can also, we can introduce ourselves, I would say.
Okay, go ahead.
So my name is Pascal. I'm a lawyer by training. I worked 12 years in international law firms. I was a partner at Simmons & Simmons, was 9 years at Clifford Chance in Frankfurt, and I'm also the CEO and co-founder of Leximo. Mariah, after
Thank
you.
My name is Mariah. I am CRO of Leximo, and before that, I co-founded an own legal tech startup in the compliance sector, and before that, also had a couple of years in a law firm. So I always say I've seen it all from the practice. And yeah, happy to be here with you guys today and discuss our options in automation and I'd say the confusion of terms that is there on the market.
Exactly, and a little bit of best practice, because when it comes to agents, everyone thinks about not, for all the non-Frankfurt people here, Ei Gute means kind of hello in Frankfurt slang. But what we're going to talk today is and Mariah, maybe you walk through a little bit over the terminology, and then at the end we will show you some real life use cases on how to use agent, when to use agent, when a workflow makes more sense. So yeah.
Exactly. That's the plan for today. And I mean, I use this meme also for posting about the webinar on LinkedIn. And I think this popular math lady depicts very clearly on what is out there, a lot of confusion about these terms, because obviously with the very quick evolving technology around AI currently, especially I'd say from the vendor sides, there is a lot of terms used in sales and marketing. And I don't want to say that it's wrongly used, because as everything is new, there is not necessarily a right or wrong, but everybody uses it differently. And I also had one of the comments on LinkedIn who said like, oh, thank you that you're talking about this, because in our monitoring, it's so hard to keep up about the terms and translating it into features or options when talking about automation in legal tech. And this is exactly what we want to do today. Our aim is that you understand what options you have in automation, what these terms mean, and what Pascal just mentioned, how this looks like in terms of use cases, because in the end, that's the thing that is interesting to you and to us, what this means in practice. So classical workflow, it's just very often a rule-based process. I think as easy as that, right? It's predefined steps. We say we have a start, we have a trigger, whether it's a click or an event, and we have a predefined steps that we walk through. It's standardized. We increase efficiency with it, and we can repeat it on and on and on. So as a visual, I thought this this process of a robot taking together a car is a good translation of a classic workflow. Maybe Pascal, you can say something about the use cases.
Yeah, exactly. So that's typical, like kind of any kind of form-based input, form-based automation. And, it could be a legal intake or the document automation, the example you mentioned in the slide. It's always where you have a kind of a decision tree you walk through and everything is kind of rule-based, which is if this, then that, logical conditions apply, and at the end you get a product, which could be a document, which could be an email, which could be any kind of tangible kind of legal action, but it's always rule-based. And that's also when it comes to, everyone is using or knows ChatGPT and all these chatbots, which are really powerful, and you can and you can use them in your daily legal work, but they don't do workflows most of the time. And workflows exists already long time ago. So even before AI and agents, most of the stuff is done by workflows. And I would always, and that's what at least we challenge our customers, that we believe that there is still a significant amount of potential for legal automation, which should still, in the AI era, still be used with pure rule-based workflows, because it's the most reliable output you can get.
So the oldest automation that is on the market, let's say, but yeah, it still has its strength and its potentials, and will. That's why we also talk about agentic workflows, because this is something that is combining the power of workflows, let's say the rule-based, the decision-based, or decision tree-based process with the power of AI. So to integrate decision-making ability into a process. And I'd say it is the differentiation is the higher flexibility and the process being able to react on some kind of AI output following the rules that you have defined in the process. Yeah, handing over to you for some use cases again, Pascal.
Yeah, and I'm gonna also show you in a couple of minutes an example with the same use case, once kind of used in an agentic workflow, and the same use case used implemented in a pure agent. Another very good example is one of our clients. They use agentic workflow to automatically categorize and summarize emails in a generic email inbox. And this bot, I think, processed as of today more than 80,000 emails. And that's really a combination of if this, then that, but also with AI kind of steps where the AI kind of categorizes the email input, and based on that category triggers different workflows. And that's where the actual sweet spot is of combining logical conditions with AI, because then you let the AI, the AI is used for decision making, or can be used for decision making, but within a very controllable workflow where you exactly know what happens next. And that's the main difference when it comes to the differentiation between agentic workflows and what we have on the next slide, then the agents itself.
Yeah. So just shortly, why did I pick the navigation system or Google Maps as a visual? It's because obviously it also reacts on where you're standing. If you're taking the other street that was not, on your way, it will recalculate your route again. So it reacts on your own input on your GPS. And that's exactly also what can happen in a workflow, that it adapts the path that you described, Pascal, to what it's there in the process. Yeah, and maybe the agents, I said, could be comparable to a personal assistant, because obviously what everybody wants and expects from agent features is autonomy. So an agent is supposed to make autonomous decisions, independent task performance, act independently of what you're giving them. And I think what is interesting, though, is always that it's within specified objectives. So the agent always knows what the goal is of what it is doing. So yeah, what kind of use cases are there for the agents?
I mean, I'm going to show later two kind of use cases. One is kind of an autonomous check of power of attorney. So you upload a contract, the agent extracts the legal entity, calls the commercial register, retrieves the document, and checks whether this person is actually eligible to sign that contract. And we also have a use case for an airline claim example, so to say, where a claim in the form of a document is received by an airline, and then it will be automatically checked whether the claim is valid or not based on predefined knowledge bases. And this is when we talk about agents and agentic workflows, it's the most important thing is to control to what tools the agent has access to. Because obviously, for legal use cases, you don't want the agent to have full access to all your documents, to all, sending out emails, being that autonomous, because at the end you are liable for that, and you want to have the human in the loop, because this is very, very, very important. So what we do in our tool, and I will show you different use cases for that, and you can transfer that to any other tool, basically, or most other tools with similar capabilities. So when it comes to this agents and agentic workflow, first of all, you need to identify what kind of capabilities you want to give that agent. And in my example, I'm going to show you is the capability of reading documents and also the capability of calling the commercial register. And the airline example is where the agent has access to two knowledge bases. One is with court decisions, and the other with the legal requirements on what needs to be fulfilled in order of the claim to be valid. And
why don't you directly jump in?
I'm just gonna share. I'm just gonna share and show what I wanna show you. So this is I want to start with an agentic workflow, and we have the airline claim example here. And this is, well, it's not a decision tree because it's one path. So it's not a tree, but you can see there is an AI output here, and there's another AI output here. And what this agent actually does, this agentic workflow, is a user, and when I click on preview, I see the front end here. The user can upload a document. So this is here the file upload node, and then there is one call to the LLM with a specific prompt, and this is only kind of to summarize the facts, and we gave that no knowledge base. So this is the first kind of agent just extracting the facts and summarizing the facts. The next AI output node is then calling or has as a knowledge base a court decision database. So what does it mean is when I check here the prompt, I get here the variable of the output before, which means it's kind of a cascade. So this prompt, this call of the LLM has as context the summary of the facts. And then the LLM needs to identify all applicable court decisions for the relevant case, for the facts which have been extracted. That's the second AI step. And then the third AI step is then calling another LLM, and then saying you have the following case, this is the data extraction. And then we say, check the requirements for a valid claim and make an analysis and include the following court decisions, where this is the output of the node above. So this means it's like a cascade. It's connected to each other, and at the end you get the result. And when we try that in the front end, we can upload an example to this, and now it's prepared for the AI to be used. And now every step is going to be done by one by one. The extracting of the facts. When this is done, the next step is then checking the database of the court decisions, identifying the relevant cases for that court decision, and then at the end, when the cases are identified, it's gonna analyzing the case, and we get our result. And this is the agentic workflow where you control every step. There are many use cases where I would rather prefer an agentic workflow rather than autonomous agent. And now we get the summary with all the cases which might be applicable. And this all comes down obviously to prompting, and you can apply this on different use cases. And having this as an agentic workflow, let me show you how this could look like in an agent, where you see it's only one AI output node, nothing else. And this is where you have the prompt here, and you tell the agent, okay, and this is where I need much more instruction, where I need to give the AI much more instruction, where I say, okay, this is a 4-step approach. I want you to extract all relevant information. Then I want to identify whether it's about delayed flights, because for my purpose here, I only want to check delayed flights. If it's a delayed flight, then it's going to check the assessment criteria, which is available in one knowledge base, and the court decisions, which is available in another knowledge base. And when I trigger that one, and let me just upload a document, this is going to take some time because the agent is now going through every step. And you can see here in our tool in the debugger, and you see the agent log, where when you build these kind of automations, you see exactly what the steps are going to be. And but now the agent in the back end, it's kind of querying the database, extracting the information, doing every step by step. And then we get the result. And when the result is done, we see exactly what steps have been made. And now we are done. We have the summary and the reasoning. And here you see, can we get a little better? It did 2 steps here. We can see how, okay, it has used GPT 4.1, the amount of tokens which have been used, but you see exactly what was the step. It was accessing first the assessment criteria, then it's was querying the knowledge base. And what's interesting is for these agents is it's always a step-by-step approach. And at the end of every step, there is an evaluation. So what does that mean? So the agent retrieves in the first step a certain amount of information from a database or from an external source or from a Google search, whatever you kind of context you provide the agent. And then there is an evaluation. And in this case, it's access the assessment criteria is said, no, it's insufficient because the court decision knowledge base was not actually queried or integrated despite the instruction. Because in the instructions, I said to the agent, you need to query both databases. And then the agent decided in the second step to query this database, and you can see what this is. There is the reason why it queried that database, and you also see there in this the generated answer, and then the evaluation. And now it says it's sufficient because both required knowledge bases were queried and the content was integrated, clear structured answer, and therefore no further iteration is needed. And that is the autonomous part, where the agent decides itself when to stop and when do I have enough information.
Can I ask you a question before
Sure.
you show another example? You mentioned before that you have a slight preference regarding agentic workflows in contrast to agents. Can you say why, or rather when, or in which case? Because obviously, I mean, you're saying, and I think everybody agrees who's here, that especially in legal practice, the transparency and the possibility of seeing what is happening when you are the human in the loop is extremely important. But as you're now showing here, we can also see what happened and what the agent did. So it's easy to understand what happened if there is something that maybe wasn't the output that we expected.
It's just the level of control.
Mm.
So sometimes, the result is the same thing like in the agentic workflow. In this time, it also accessed the assessment criteria database. It accessed the court decision database. And this worked perfectly fine. But because of that autonomy, it depends also on the input that when we tested that feature, and for example, you have and that always comes down then to the prompting. Sometimes you have in the initial document a lot of court decisions already mentioned. And if you do not prompt it right, the agent might think, oh, there is already court decisions. Probably I don't need to query the knowledge base of the court decisions because I have already results. And you need to fight that in a way to make it very strict and stringent that the agent follows the rules. And the easiest way to let the agent follow the rules is actually to make an agentic workflow, because then you know exactly when which database will be queried, but you still use AI. So you still have to have the power. But let me show, because one interesting use case when it comes to agents, which I really like, is when you combine it not only to knowledge bases but also to tools. Mm-hmm. And this is an interesting example where I can upload contracts, and I have some test files here. We can use this one. And this is not a real life example, but there are NDAs where different signatories are signed the contract. And what the agent is now doing is first it queries that uploaded document and extracts the relevant information. And that is super powerful using the agentic approach, because then it is more dynamic.
We have one question from one of our participants, because you're talking about knowledge base for the agent. Can the knowledge base be created in the tool now in
Yes.
Leximo's tool and populated with data?
It has to be. I mean, for the knowledge base, it has to be. When you use external tools, you could use APIs to external tools, and then you can include them in the agentic approach. And now we have the results here, which the question was, is it compliant or not? And you can hear in the agent log, let's just see what's happened. So it first extracted the information. So the question was, we always have the Siemens as an initial counterparty, and then the other counterparty, and the other counterparty needs to be checked. This, in this example, SAP. So now it used the tool and called the commercial register to get the information, whether the real name of SAP, in order in the next, and this is super cool, to query the commercial register to retrieve the actual commercial register document. And then you see here, it's kind of searched in the document, and we get all this information out of the real commercial register document, which is then used to create the answer. And it says it is compliant because it could identify the signatories from the contract in the actual commercial register document as eligible representatives. And that is a super powerful tool to be used in this agentic workflow. And then we can also ask more questions, but just to show you what that means, we have this multi-process thing where you can upload a bunch of documents. And let me just upload a couple of documents, which all needs to be checked whether they are eligible or not. And
So
now
especially interesting for any due diligences, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And now it's the automation or the agent goes through every document by itself. It's going to take, depending on the availability of the commercial register website, which is unfortunately, at least the German one is probably the slowest website on Earth.
What a surprise.
And but it runs through every single document, and at the end, when all the 5 documents are through, I can have the result for each document.
As it's already 12:30, maybe let's try to sum up what we have seen and defined for the different automation options. So I think we won't wait for the multi-process to go through. I believe it works. I've seen that it works. So I hope the participants do as well. So maybe let's just go back to the slide to sum up what you have shown us as well. So it's always a question about how much control we have. That's what you said. I think that's a good thing that we can go home with. And let me just, that's what I wanted to show you as well. Some helpful questions on how to classify the use cases, on what you need in your legal practice. And I mean, you've seen it, and it will, for a couple of more months, definitely be this way, that you have to be aware of the inconsistency in the naming of the features in marketing and sales on the market, And one of the comments on LinkedIn that I mentioned earlier, I asked him, okay, so how do you do it in your monitoring to prevent any misunderstandings there? And he said it's really about personal conversations with the vendors, tool providers, and demos, and not even that makes it 100% clear all the time. So if you want to talk to us to get more clarification on these terms, we'll be happy to do that. And maybe also as a preview, in 2 weeks, we'll have another webinar where we talk with our new partner, Lawlift, about document automation and how this can be combined with Leximo's workflows. So if you want to join, we'll be happy to have you there. And yeah, I think that's all. Did I forget anything in the summary? Pascal, you want to add something?
No, the only thing I want to add is when it comes to this agents or agentic workflows, everything is related with AI. You need to come a little bit out of your comfort zone as a lawyer, and you need to be kind of available for this try and error approach, because this is really important. And you need to understand to some extent how this stuff works in order to evaluate the risks as well. You don't need to become a coder or developer, but you just need to understand, how these knowledge bases work, why specific prompts do not work because they're too broad and not specific enough. So these kind of stuff you need to understand. But there is a lot of education out there for that.
Talking about prompts, I have the feeling we have one Leximo user in the crowd already, because he's asking whether the functions that you just showed, Pascal, can also be applied when using the automate mode. So everybody who hasn't used Leximo yet, automate is the function to prompt any workflow, to get a draft of a workflow via prompt. So is that something that you can also do with automate, or is it just manually possible?
Soon to be available. Not yet, but we will integrate that
coming soon.
later.
I don't have that slide here. Okay, perfect. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining today. We have 4 minutes more than we expected, but that's okay. I had a lot of fun. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you for joining us today. And yeah, as I said, maybe see you in the next webinar, or reach out to Pascal or me, and we'll be happy to take the discussion further.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Have a nice day.